Yeah, when we started this, we started with 36 heifers that was bought from the, right there.
Yeah, hold up close.
Okay, from the livestock barn in Torrington. And we had them, we backgrounded them here for about 30 days. I got them up on a grower ration. And then on June 25th, we put them into the grow save for their warm-up period. And while they were in the warm-up period, I fed them the grower ration until the 15th of July. When I seen that they were all hitting, we took the feed away from them in the bunks and just put it totally in the tubs. And like Jim was saying, we had 4 reps, 2 of the free choice and 2 of mixed feed. And my big concern was we put 200 pounds of corn in each one of them tubs in the free choice, 90 pounds of hay pellets, and about 40 pounds of haylage. Well, I figured after a couple days we'd go out there and we'd have some of them in the free choice, bloated, coccidiosis, whatever, but that wasn't the case. The data that over the last 30 days I've pulled off, the average intake on, well, the lighter weights, here I'm gonna have to put my glasses on. I took 2 animals out of each pen, the lowest and the highest intake. Of the free choice, on the average, they ate 63% corn, 31.5% hay pellets, and only 5.5% of the haylage. And now on the mixed ration, I took 2 of each out of each pen, which you can see there on the sheet, and they were on a 60% corn, 25 or 30, let's see here, 25% haylage and 15% hay pellets. And I went down through there the 30 days and added up the totals. And on a total feed cost on the free choice, over a period of time, if you took them to fat, so you brought them in at 500 pounds and took them to 800 pounds, you would, on average, make about $100 a head more on the free choice ones. And they're doing real well. The ones on free choice, at times I've pulled one out and they've ate 83% corn in one day, but you go back the next day and they might only ate about 40%. And as you can see on the average corn intake on the free choice is about 63 to 65%. So they're holding right with the mixed feed, which they're at 60% on corn. And with that, okay, and then I pulled some stuff up off the computer on their feeding behavior. And if you look down at the bottom of the sheet, I think Steve's got it mixed up here, but basically the free choice animals spend about only half the time eating that the mixed feed ration do. The average head down, which is, the head down is when they take a bite of feed out of the tub. The duration is the time they're standing in the tub and reading their EID that they're in that tub chewing. And as you can tell that on the free choice, they're in there only about half the time that the mixed feed ration cattle are. And that's about all I have. I think Steve got a little more to say than I do.
Yeah, I'm going to play devil's advocate, I guess, a little bit here. I was like these guys. I was pretty skeptical, a little worried about putting free choice grain out there for a group of heifers, and I guess I was with the idea that, boy, you lose one animal, there went your profitability right there. So I guess I've been mildly impressed, as you can see. We really have, other than one animal that initially started the trial a little bloated every day. That heifer's calmed down quite a bit, and essentially none of the animals have been treated in those pens. I do want to point out we were all pretty cautious when we started this project. As Larry said, we brought him up. It took about a month to bring him up onto feed. During that period of time, we went through a cocci program, so we wanted to eliminate the chance of any coccidiosis while they're on the project. Now, we couldn't put Rumensin or Bovatec necessarily in the feed because that would influence their selectivity or their eating. So we had to make sure we had them cleaned up before they went on the project. So again, they were backgrounded quite a while, they were vaccinated, they were cleaned up before they went on to the project, they were familiar with the feeds before they went on. So I think hopefully we did our homework there, and hopefully that helped us eliminate problems as we started the project and we went on. But I think there's really some interesting data. As Larry pointed out, on the back side of this, Larry went in and he picked out animals that had the lowest feed intake in that pen and the highest feed intake in that pen. So essentially there's 4 groups of cattle, 9 head per group. He went in and selected 2 animals out of each of those 4 pens. And really some interesting things in there. As you can see on the back side of that sheet, lowest intake is 674 pounds. That's over a 30-day period, so we're looking at around 32 pounds of feed intake per day, versus some of those animals in there, we're getting upwards of 1,100 to 1,200 pounds of feed. So we're pushing 40 pounds of feed in some cases. So pretty big difference in intake in these groups. And if you look at their performance, there's some dramatic differences in feed efficiency. So that's something else I'm interested in that I think this really points out. If you look at that pen 4, those 2 animals, the lowest feed intake, that W222 heifer, that heifer consumed 786 total pounds of feed over that 30-day period. The other animal in that same pen, same ration, same group of heifers, consumed 1,101 pounds of feed. So a pretty dramatic difference in feed intake. Look at their average daily gain, exactly the same, 3.3 pounds. Both of them gained 101 pounds over that 30-day period. So there's about a 30% difference in efficiency, just feed efficiency right there. So to me, part of the story is not only are we seeing differences based on the free choice versus total mixed ration, but boy, there's some pretty dramatic differences in feed efficiency within that group of heifers as well. So I think that's kind of interesting things to think about too. As we said, we're going to be around. Larry and I will be over at the pen during the tours. If you want to stop and ask, I'll give you Larry's cell phone number if you've got any questions following this up, and you can ask him whatever you need to ask him after that. I guess with that, I don't have any more. I don't know where we're at on time, but certainly, I've got some cautions. I've got some concerns about it. The other interesting thing is we developed the ration, 60% shelled corn, 15% alfalfa pellets, 25% haylage. And it's kind of interesting to look at what they selected on their own, and it was around 60 to 65% grain that they selected on their own. The other interesting thing, most of them chose, when given the chance, they weren't necessarily interested in haylage, which kind of makes sense, right? If you can pick your own feed, you're going to go for the candy, you're not going to go for the spinach or whatever else that you got out there. So I think that's pretty interesting that they would select it. A question that comes to me is, if we went on to finish with these animals, what would we do? Well, naturally, the cattle that on the total mixed ration, we would push those up to 80 to 90% grain diet. It'd be interesting to see what happens to those heifers if you were to push them a little bit. In this case, where they're all on a grower diet and they're responding similarly, which is what we wanted with the study. But I think there's some real questions and some real opportunities as we go further along.